Welcome to Jersey Bayshore Country. Hello everybody, I'm John Schneider. I'm your host for Jersey Bayshore Country, and welcome. Before we get started, let's get a fix on our position. Where exactly is the New Jersey Bayshore? Well, it's in New Jersey, but it's also along the Raritan Bay, Sandy Hook Bay, Shrewsbury and Navesink rivers, as well as the Atlantic Ocean. We're going to go to a place today that's almost surrounded by water. It's a barrier peninsula, or as it's technically referred to, a spit, like a spit in a bucket. It's Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook was discovered by Henry Hudson in the 1600s, so it's rich with history. It's part of Middletown, and Middletown is part of the Jersey Bayshore. How do you get to Sandy Hook? Well, come on down the Garden State Parkway, get off at exit 117, jump on Route 36, and follow the signs to Sandy Hook. About a 20-minute ride. You'll go over the bridge at Highlands, and there it is, about 7.5 miles out. This is a national park with more than 2,000 acres. It's got more than 10 beaches. There are beaches on the riverside and the bayside, and people like that side sometimes because it's a little quieter. You can jet ski and parasail and go swimming, and the water's very clean. And some people like the ocean side. There are lots of beaches, miles and miles of beaches, including Gunnison Beach, a nude beach. And I'm going to show you a video from Gunnison Beach, but I've taken care not to show you too much of that beach too closely. There are salt marshes here, cactus, hiking trails, and a maritime holly forest. There are over 300 migratory birds. There are national historic landmarks such as the Sandy Hook Lighthouse, the oldest continually operating lighthouse in America. There's Fort Hancock with gun batteries and military structures dating back to the 1800s, and many of the structures are exactly the way they were when they were actually being utilized many years ago. There's the Sandy Hook Proving Grounds, where you can see Nike missiles on display, and these were there to defend our country from attack. And you can see lots of big guns aimed out over at the Atlantic Ocean, and there are guided tours of some of these fortified locations from where the guns were controlled and fired. There are summer beach concerts with great bands and family campfires with the park rangers. It's a fabulous place to visit, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. Let's take a look at this overview video that I shot right now. By the way, here's a little tip. If you come to Sandy Hook, you do need to buy a day pass, or if you have a season pass, that works as well, and there are senior discounts for those. But parking can fill up fairly quickly, so you need to get here as quickly as you can. But here's a tip. If you don't drive in, but you walk in to Sandy Hook, or you ride a bicycle, you don't pay at all. So you can rent bicycles over in Highlands if you like to. Take your bicycle across the bridge and go right into the park and you're all set. You could also, of course, walk over, and there's a beach that is probably a mile down the road, which isn't too far of a walk, but it might be far if you're carrying a lot of stuff. Now, here's another tip. If you tell the park ranger at the toll gate that you are there to visit Fort Hancock and you're not going to be parking in any of the beach locations, you get in for free. So just say, I'm here to look at Fort Hancock, I'm just going to drive around, and you should be able to get into the park free. And of course, if you did get in free and you don't have a pass, don't park in the parking lots because they'll give you a ticket. So you can go down to Fort Hancock. There's a big parking area there by the picnic grounds. You can park, take your bicycles off the rack, and ride around or walk around and see it all you like without having to pay a thing. I live in Highlands, which is a little village on the Shrewsbury River, and I have a boat that I can take over to some of the islands of Sandy Hook. There's Plum Island, there's Skeleton Hill Island, and there's a little place I call Treasure Island. Why do I call it Treasure Island? Because I find so many things there. Sea glass, old bottles. I found, look, I'll show it to you on the screen. This is a bottle I found from 1865. It was manufactured in Philadelphia by the Riddle Company, and there were two brothers. There was W. Riddle and R. Riddle, Robert and William, and they each alternated in this hand-blown glass bottle of putting their first initial on it, and it's just in pristine condition. And these are the kinds of things that I find. So let's jump in my boat, take a trip over to Skeleton Hill Island, and see what we can find. Welcome to Treasure Island. Today's adventure, beachcombing. Okay, we're anchored in. This is where we are. I call this Treasure Island. It changes shape with the tides. Tide is going out. It should be out in another couple of hours. You can see already the water that used to be in here is slowly dissipating. Some old World War II ammo bunkers are over at the one end. Piece of blue glass. I guess you could call it sea glass. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for sea glass. We're looking for, look, here's a piece right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's green. It's not the greatest sea glass in the world, but it'll work. These are the two pieces of sea glass that I just found within 1 minute. The water's very shallow here. And this is where sometimes you can find bottles and inkwells and other sorts of things, especially things. I found 2 inkwells in this swamp. Now, when it's low tide, there's just a trickle of water that goes through there, and you can actually walk in the mud, but you have to be careful that you're not sucked under like quicksand. One thing you don't look for on an island like this is any kind of shell. There just aren't many. Look at this. Here's another piece of sea glass. It's not. It's nice. It's blue. It's worn a little bit. It's got some markings on it, which make it interesting. So that's one we'll keep. Very beautiful out here. You can see it's low tide. This would all be underwater. In fact, the water would be, well, above here, quite frankly. Sometimes it actually, the island will disappear. A lot of pieces of bricks. You see a lot of horseshoe crabs, some dead, some living, some dying, some making love, if that's what you can call it. But you see a lot of this, a lot of man-made items, and then you see a lot of bottoms of bottles, like the one on the right, but not worth picking up. Now the object here is to find something old, preferably an old bottle that's intact. An old Heineken bottle is nothing you want to collect. Here's the bunker at the one end of, it's really not an island, but it might as well be because it's hard to get to, and across the way you can see highlands over there. I like to come here after a storm. We had a wind and a little bit of a tidal surge the other night. Really looking out in the direction of Brereton Bay off to the right at the end of Sandy Hook would be the entrance to the Atlantic Ocean. The goal is to separate all the junk from stuff that actually might be collectible, and unfortunately when you walk on this beach, especially after a storm, you see a lot of junk and you don't always know what to pick up. I like to call this a debris field. It's a little bit hard to just sort of look at it from a distance and know if there's anything worthwhile. Sometimes you just got to walk over it and look. There's an old tire, a big tire too. It's been here for a million years, right across from our fair city. So hopefully something will wash up from Mother Nature. Maybe it'll be a bottle, a piece of glass, an old fragment, or something from Fort Hancock. You know, you get a lot of false alarms. You see something, a beautiful dark green piece of something, and you think, oh, that's it. And it turns out to be a piece of seaweed. Another hour, that little piece of water will be gone. That was filled with water at high tide. Here we are in the debris field. It's hard to see everything. You just have to look. See, here's a false alarm. This is just a piece of plastic, but it looked nice. Sometimes I walk fast, sometimes I walk slow. Sometimes I lean over to pick something up, look at it more carefully, and sometimes I don't bother. This is a recently drained culvert. Sometimes you find things in these, especially hermit crabs. Sometimes you find horseshoe crabs. Sometimes I walk in this mud, and sometimes I choose not to. It depends on how I feel. Well, one thing that I've realized since being out here, there are mosquitoes, so this may not be much fun for me, maybe for you. Well, I'm in the water because of the flies. The flies were attacking me in huge swarms, so I had to get out of there. I may just stay in the water here. All right, I was out of the water for 5 seconds, and suddenly the black uglies came and attacked my legs again. Not good, not good at all. Now here's where Treasure Island breaks. Here's where some of the water is trapped, but it's slowly coming out as the tide goes out to sea. Now we're staying out of the debris fields and staying close to the water. Look at the waves coming in. It looks like a bottle, but it is, but I'm gonna leave it down so nobody steps on it. Suddenly the sun has come out on our Treasure Island. It's, I don't know if it's out for just a small period of time or what, but it's peeking around the clouds. This looks like a little knife sheath. It's plastic, so it's made in Thailand, of course. This is the stuff I really like to get because it's an old bowl, and it looks like it might be ancient, but I don't know. It could be part of a porcelain pipe system too. There's something else. You just see stuff like this. After a while, you know, it's really just some kind of bit of a terracotta piping. We're still just walking along the shore, not really in the debris field so much anymore. I wanted to stay away from those black flies or whatever they are. Well, this is the end of the island up here. As you can see, there's an inlet that goes between the two islands. The one on the other side is Skeleton Hill Island, and Highlands is off in the distance. There's a nice piece of sea glass. You can tell it's nice because it's kind of frosty. It's thick. It's got a nice, if you hold it up to the light, It looks nice, got a nice color. Now if I felt like it, I could walk out there. It's pretty shallow, and you could actually walk out for quite a ways. It's actually astounding. That's why we pulled the boat up on the other side. We had a little bit more depth in the water. We'll walk out here a little bit. Look, see here, you can tell this is not an old piece of glass, but it's there. You gotta watch out where you're walking out here. You can see the tide is swiftly moving out, but still, it's all pretty shallow. And as you walk out, sometimes you find things like, well, what's this? It looks like a piece of metal of some kind. Yeah, it's an old corroded something or other. And you can see how shallow. There's another piece of sea glass down there, but not worth picking up. It's getting a little deep in here. Oh, look what's in here. I collect these. This is a bobber. Okay? I can't tell you how many of these I found. You know, they get caught on something, and they're perfectly good. All right, it's getting kind of deep, so we're going to go back in to the shore, carefully looking as we go, whatever we may find. I thought it would be useful to show you some of the relics that I've actually found, even though I didn't find very much during this last film. This first piece is really a fragment from an antique blue willow plate that was from the 1850s to the 1870s. Typically, the oriental motif of the traditional blue willow pattern consists of a willow tree, a bridge with 3 figures, pagodas, a boat, and 2 birds in flight. This next fragment is from a 10-inch blue and white transferware plate from about 1862. You can see that it's a blue floral transfer which covers the surface of the original plate in a geometric design. This next piece is a piece of pottery from Greenwood Pottery Company in 1868, and until about 1875, the arms of the state of New Jersey were used as the mark for the ironstone china or white granite. And in the last named year, they added the legend which appears on the subjoined mark. So the patent was on a scallop dish which was produced at that time, and the initials of the company were stamped in the body of the first table porcelain made at this factory at about the same period. Here's some tableware that I found at various locations near Sandy Hook, a fork that's sort of stuck in a piece of conglomerate, another spoon, and I tracked that spoon down. It was made by a manufacturer that made a lot of tableware for the United States military back in the 1900s, and you could tell from the mark, so that came from Fort Hancock. These next 2 items are 2 shards of china, which I have not been able to identify at this time. The other thing that I find are lots and lots of bottles. You saw that you saw the Riddle bottle that I showed earlier in this program. There were brothers, Robert and William Riddle, and they manufactured mineral water bottles in Philadelphia during the 1850s. And each brother would put his initial of his own first name on the other side of the hand-blown bottle at various times. So sometimes you see Robert's initial, and sometimes you see William's initial. This old milk bottle, I had to wade out into the water to find it. It's a Sheffield milk bottle from 1948, and it was found in the water near a sandbar. Here's a somewhat rare broken Coca-Cola bottle. It was bottled by the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation, which was formed in 1937, and over the years a number of other glass plants were added, including a location in New Jersey. Now here's a bottle. It's difficult to see, but this bottle is a bottle of Red Rock Cola, which was last made in 1958 and says, "Enjoy Red Rock Cola." I also found on my adventures some interesting objects, maybe everyday objects. This first one was found in Sandy Hook. It was probably used in the military base there, Fort Hancock. This is the capture and spring mechanism for an old mouse trap that was found near Fort Hancock on Sandy Hook. The mouses of today are probably all living as a result of the fact that I have this. And then this I think is very interesting. This is believed to be an old brass sprinkler, which was found in the water also off Sandy Hook. To end our show today, I've invited my neighbor and friend and fellow musician, Carl Gentry, to sing one of his original songs, When Life Gets in the Way.
On a mountain top out west, snow is crystal white. I look out on the horizon and see the bright sunrise. My arms are raised up with my fists high in the clouds. That was just my daydream, so take me back right now. On a cold winter morning, when I drive my car in the dark, and when the papers pile up like a tower when I'm on the job, I wanna be free, like a bird in the sky every day. Life gets in the way. On a tropical island with my feet in the hot sand, taking in the blue ocean with a Mai Tai in my hand. Palm tree branches swaying with a warm breeze blowing by. I wish that I was saying this really was my life. On a cold winter morning, when I drive my car in the dark, and when the papers pile up like a tower when I'm on the job, I wanna be free, like a bird in the sky every day. Life gets in the way. I don't take my life for granted. Wouldn't trade it for just anything. When I spend a weekend with my family, I can't help but flash a grin. On a cold winter morning, when I drive my car in the dark, and when the papers pile up like a tower when I'm on the job, I can just smile. Nothing's gonna ruin my day. Life gets in the way.
Well, I guess that's all the time we have. I want to thank you for watching. Please stay tuned. Next week, we're going to have a brand new episode. We're going to talk to some interesting people. We're going to look at historic photographs, and I think you're going to have a good time. Please do contact me at John-Schneider at Comcast.net. I'd love to get your questions or answer your questions. And visit JerseyBayshore.com for more information about the Jersey Bayshore and for more information about these programs. And please do visit us here.